It started as a prank, but I slept with my neighbor. Now my marriage is over, and I'm left all alone, and it all began as a harmless prank, a playful twist in our relationship that I never imagined would spiral out of control. My name is Leela, and for the past 2 years, I've been married to Desmond, a brilliant 31-year-old attorney. We met through mutual friends who orchestrated one of our first pranks, setting the tone for our relationship filled with laughter and mischief. Desmond and I were known as the Gen Z couple, always active, always up for a laugh. Our shared love for pranks was the glue that held us together during our 4-year courtship and the early months of our marriage. Desmond was a workhorse, tirelessly climbing the legal ladder, while I pursued my dreams in film, though I eventually settled for smaller gigs and community plays. Despite our different career paths, our love for pranks kept our bond strong. However, this year marked a turning point. The firm where Desmond worked was embroiled in multiple high-profile cases, leaving him exhausted and distant. Our once vibrant dynamic began to wane under the weight of his professional stress. One evening, after another long day, where Desmond barely glanced up from his stack of case files, I found myself restless. The spark that once ignited our relationship was dimmed, overshadowed by his relentless work schedule. I missed the laughter, the spontaneous jokes, the playful banter that had defined us. It felt like we were losing ourselves in the grind of daily life. Desperate to bring back the fun, I began brainstorming ways to rekindle our connection. That's when the idea hit me: a grand prank, one that would shock Desmond back into paying attention. It was bold, risky, and perhaps a little insane, but it felt like the only way to jolt us back into the vibrant relationship we once had. The plan was simple yet audacious. I would stage an intimate moment with our neighbor, Collins, in front of Desmond to make him realize how much he had been neglecting me. Collins was a single guy, friendly, but not romantically involved with me, perfect for the stunt. I thought this would be a wake-up call, a way to remind Desmond of the wild, carefree days we once cherished. Approaching Collins was nerve-wracking. He had previously confessed his interest in me, which I had politely brushed off. Asking him to participate in my prank required courage, especially given our awkward history. Initially, Collins was hesitant, clearly still harboring resentment towards me. But desperation clouded my judgment, and I pressed on, convincing him to help me execute the prank. Little did I know, Collins had his own agenda. 2 months before April Fool's Day, I began planning meticulously. Desmond was too busy to notice my subtle attempts to engage him in pranks, so I decided to up the ante. My plan was to handcuff Desmond to the radiator, a nod to our early marriage days when spontaneity ruled, and then create a scene with Collins that would leave Desmond speechless. The day before the prank, Desmond offered to take a day off to spend with me, sensing the distance between us. I told him I preferred staying home, needing time to set up the surprise. He reluctantly agreed, unaware of the chaos I was about to unleash. April Fool's Day arrived with a mix of excitement and anxiety. I flirted with Desmond, making him feel loved and appreciated, lulling him into a relaxed state. Once he was in the right mood, I handcuffed him to the radiator, a place that held nostalgic memories of our early marriage. I whispered a sweet goodbye and left the room to meet Collins upstairs. As I descended, Collins was ready. He had the door open, ensuring Desmond would hear our interaction. I felt a mix of excitement and fear as I approached Collins, unaware of how deeply he would influence the situation. The moment seemed perfect until it wasn't. Collins began pushing boundaries, convincing me to take the prank further than I had ever intended. Instead of a simple kiss, Collins initiated something more intimate. Blinded by the desire to salvage my marriage, I went along with it, thinking it would be a one-time thing. However, Collins had other plans. He manipulated the situation, ensuring that Desmond would not only hear, but witness the entire ordeal. The prank, which I believed would rekindle our connection, instead ignited a catastrophic chain of events. When I returned downstairs to release Desmond, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Desmond's face contorted in anger and betrayal. He had heard everything: the laughter, the whispers, the undeniable sounds of another woman. His professional demeanor shattered, revealing the raw hurt and fury beneath. He stormed out of the house, leaving me alone with the realization of what I had done. Desmond's reaction was swift and unforgiving. He confronted me with accusations of infidelity, tearing apart the trust we had built over the years. I tried to explain that it was meant to be a prank, that I never intended to hurt him, but the damage was irreparable. Desmond saw me as the biggest fool, someone who would jeopardize our marriage for a misguided joke. He filed for divorce within 2 weeks, branding me as untrustworthy and reckless. Friends distanced themselves, unable to comprehend the depth of my mistake. Even Collins, who had seemed like a willing accomplice, revealed his true colors, leaving me to pick up the pieces of a life I had destroyed with one thoughtless act. The divorce process was swift and merciless. Desmond ensured that I had no access to our home, stripping me of the one place that had been our sanctuary. I found myself alone, grappling with guilt and regret. The realization that a simple prank could end a loving marriage was a bitter pill to swallow. I had always prided myself on my creativity and sense of humor, never anticipating that it would lead to such devastation. I sought counsel, hoping to find a way to mend the broken relationship, but Desmond was resolute. His love had been tainted by my actions, and he couldn't see past the betrayal. I was left to confront my mistakes, understanding that some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. Looking back, I recognize the folly of my actions. In trying to recapture the excitement of our early days, I lost sight of what truly mattered: our love and trust. Pranks, which once brought us closer, became the wedge that drove us apart. Collins had been the catalyst, exploiting my vulnerability and pushing me into a corner where I made a choice that cost me everything. Desmond's anger was justified. I had underestimated the consequences of my actions, not realizing that playing with someone's emotions, especially within a marriage, could lead to such irreparable harm. The prank was no longer a joke, but a turning point that defined the end of our relationship. In the wake of the divorce, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and healing. Therapy sessions helped me understand the root of my actions and the importance of communication in a relationship. I learned that humor and playfulness must be balanced with respect and consideration for my partner's feelings. I also reconnected with myself, exploring new hobbies and rekindling old passions that had been overshadowed by the chaos of my marriage. It was a slow process, but with time, I began to rebuild my life, piece by piece. The most profound lesson I learned was the value of honesty and openness in a relationship. Instead of resorting to extreme measures to revive our connection, I should have communicated my feelings and frustrations directly with Desmond. Pranks, once a source of joy, became a weapon that tore us apart. I also realized the importance of setting boundaries and being cautious about whom I involve in personal matters. Collins had taken advantage of my situation, leading me astray when I needed support the most. Trusting him was my mistake, one that I vowed never to repeat. As I move forward, I carry the scars of my past, but also the strength to create a better future. The divorce was a painful but necessary step towards self-awareness and growth. I've learned to embrace vulnerability and the importance of nurturing relationships with love and respect rather than manipulation and deceit. Desmond and I have gone our separate ways, each pursuing our paths towards healing and happiness. While the end of our marriage was heartbreaking, it was also a catalyst for profound personal transformation. I am no longer the prankster who lost everything for a joke, but a woman who understands the true essence of love and partnership. Life has a way of teaching us lessons through our mistakes. My journey from a playful prankster to a woman seeking redemption has been arduous, but it has also been enlightening. I hope that others can learn from my story, understanding that the pursuit of excitement should never come at the expense of what truly matters. As I step into the future, I carry with me the memories of a love lost and the wisdom gained from a prank gone wrong. I am determined to build a life based on honesty, trust, and genuine connection, leaving behind the chaos that once defined me. The prank that shattered my marriage has, in its own twisted way, paved the path towards a more authentic and fulfilling life. Months after the divorce, I began to understand how deeply my actions had affected not just me and Desmond, but also those around us. Friends who once celebrated our playful spirit now viewed me with a mixture of pity and judgment. I remembered Sarah, our mutual friend who had always admired our bond. After the prank, her support turned into a cautious distance. I felt the weight of my actions more acutely when I saw her at gatherings, offering a sympathetic smile but refraining from the laughter we once shared. Collins, too, was a casualty of the prank gone wrong. Initially, I had thought he was merely an accomplice in my plan, a participant willing to play along. However, as time passed, it became clear that Collins had used the situation to his advantage. His motives were never pure, and his interest in me was not rooted in friendship, but in exploiting my vulnerability. Our interactions became strained, the air thick with unspoken resentment and regret. I realized that involving him had not only jeopardized my marriage, but also tarnished any semblance of camaraderie we once had. In an attempt to make amends, I reached out to Desmond, hoping to explain my side of the story and perhaps find a way back to each other. The first meeting was agonizing. We sat across from each other in a sterile courtroom, the air heavy with unspoken words and lingering pain. Desmond looked different, more guarded, his eyes holding a storm of emotions that mirrored my own turmoil. "I never wanted this, Leela," he began, his voice wavering between anger and sorrow. "What you did, it felt like a betrayal, not just as a wife, but as a person I trusted." I took a deep breath, struggling to find the right words. I thought I was doing the right thing, trying to bring back the fun we once had. I never intended for it to go this far. I was desperate, and I made a terrible mistake. Desmond shook his head, his frustration palpable. Desperate for what? To see me upset? To test our marriage in such a cruel way? I wanted to remind you how much I missed us, how much I wanted us to reconnect, I pleaded. I see now that it was a reckless decision. I understand if you can't forgive me, but I hope you can see that it was never about wanting someone else. It was about us falling apart. The conversation ended without resolution, the chasm between us widening despite my efforts to bridge it. Desmond's decision was final. The trust was broken beyond repair. With the divorce finalized, I had to find a way to rebuild my life from the ruins of what once was. Moving out of our shared home was the first step. a physical separation that mirrored the emotional distance I felt. I moved into a small apartment, cluttered with memories of better times, each corner echoing with the laughter that once filled our home. The initial weeks were the hardest. The silence was deafening, a constant reminder of the absence of Desmond's presence. I struggled with feelings of loneliness and regret, questioning every decision that led to this point. Therapy became a sanctuary, a place where I could unpack my emotions and understand the depth of my mistakes. In therapy, I explored the underlying issues that had driven me to such an extreme action. My need for excitement, my fear of losing the connection with Desmond, and my inability to communicate my frustrations had all contributed to the disaster. Slowly, I began to understand that the solution was not in grand gestures or shocking acts, but in honest dialogue and mutual support. As the months passed, I started to rediscover parts of myself that had been overshadowed by the chaos of my marriage and the fallout of the prank. I reignited my passion for filmmaking, taking on small projects that allowed me to express my creativity in healthier ways. The process was therapeutic, helping me channel my emotions into something productive. I also reconnected with old friends, those who had remained supportive despite the fallout. Their unwavering support was a beacon of hope, reminding me that not all relationships had to end in betrayal and heartbreak. With time, I began to rebuild my social circle, surrounding myself with people who valued honesty and integrity. Through therapy and self-reflection, I developed a new perspective on relationships and the importance of communication. I realized that my actions were a symptom of deeper issues and inability to express my needs and frustrations effectively. The prank was a misguided attempt to address those issues, but it only served to exacerbate them. I learned that humor and playfulness have their place in a relationship, but they must be balanced with sincerity and respect. Desmond and I had lost sight of that balance, allowing our differences and external pressures to erode the foundation we had built. Moving forward, I vowed to prioritize open communication and emotional honesty in all my future relationships. 1 year after the divorce, I decided it was time to seek closure. I reached out to Desmond, suggesting a final meeting to lay our grievances to rest. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe, a neutral ground where we could speak freely without the weight of our past. As I walked into the cafe, I saw Desmond sitting alone, his expression unreadable. We greeted each other with a nod, a silent acknowledgement of the journey we had been through. We sat down, the minutes ticking by in tense silence. "I've thought a lot about what happened," Desmond began, his voice steady yet tinged with lingering hurt. "And I've come to realize that holding on to anger won't change anything. We both made mistakes." I nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. "I know. I regret what I did, and I wish I could take it back. But I understand why you felt the way you did." Desmond sighed, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "I think we both need to move on, learn from this, and find happiness separately. Holding on to the past only hurts us more." We shared a moment of mutual understanding, the finality of our words settling between us. As we parted ways, I felt a sense of peace, knowing that I had finally come to terms with my actions and their consequences. With closure in hand, I embraced the future with a newfound sense of purpose. The lessons I had learned from the prank and its aftermath guided me towards healthier relationships and a deeper understanding of myself. I focused on building connections based on trust, honesty, and mutual respect, avoiding the pitfalls that had led to my downfall. I also took the time to explore new hobbies and interests, filling my life with activities that brought me joy and fulfillment. Filmmaking, once a neglected passion, became a source of inspiration and creativity. I collaborated with local artists and storytellers, channeling my experiences into meaningful projects that resonated with others. Healing was not a linear process. There were days when the weight of my mistakes felt unbearable, and nights when the silence of my apartment echoed with memories of Desmond. But each day, I took small steps towards self-forgiveness and acceptance. Therapy continued to be a valuable tool, helping me navigate the complex emotions that lingered. I also began volunteering at a local community center, helping others find their path to healing and growth. Sharing my story became a way to give back, offering support to those who were struggling with their own challenges. In helping others, I found solace and a sense of purpose, turning my pain into a source of strength. One of the most significant changes I experienced was learning to embrace vulnerability. In my quest to protect myself from further hurt, I had built walls that prevented genuine connection. Through therapy and personal reflection, I realized that true intimacy and trust require openness and honesty, even when it feels uncomfortable. I practiced expressing my emotions more freely, sharing my fears and hopes with those around me. This newfound vulnerability strengthened my relationships, allowing me to connect with others on a deeper level. I understood that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a powerful tool for building meaningful connections. Time had a way of healing wounds, and eventually, my path crossed with someone who understood my journey. His name was Ethan, a kind-hearted writer who had also experienced his share of heartbreak. Our connection was immediate, built on a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Ethan and I shared a love for storytelling and creativity, bonding over our shared experiences of loss and renewal. Our relationship was different from my marriage with Desmond, gentle, patient, and rooted in genuine connection. We took our time, allowing our love to grow organically, free from the need for pranks or grand gestures. With Ethan, I found a partner who valued honesty and communication, qualities that I had come to cherish. Together, we built a relationship based on trust and mutual support, learning from the mistakes of the past to create a healthier, more fulfilling future. As I embraced my new life, I also learned to let go of the past. The memories of Desmond and the prank that had shattered our marriage still lingered, but I no longer allowed them to define me. I focused on the present, cherishing the lessons I had learned and the growth I had achieved. Desmond, too, found his way forward. Our final meeting had provided the closure we both needed, allowing us to move on with our lives. Occasionally, I thought about him, hoping he had found peace and happiness. But I knew that dwelling on the past would only hinder my progress, so I chose to honor our history by embracing the lessons it had taught me. With each passing day, I felt more confident in my ability to create a life filled with love, trust, and genuine connection. I continued to pursue my passions, collaborating with others to bring stories to life and inspire those around me. The journey was far from easy, but it was rewarding, filled with moments of joy and fulfillment that I had long forgotten. Ethan and I decided to embark on a new project together, creating a documentary about relationships, exploring the complexities of love, trust, and communication. Our shared vision was to shed light on the importance of understanding and empathy in building strong, lasting bonds. The projects became a symbol of our commitment to each other and our dedication to fostering healthier relationships in our community. Years later, I looked back on the events that had shaped my life with a mixture of sadness and gratitude. The prank that had destroyed my marriage was also the catalyst for my personal growth and self-discovery. It taught me the importance of communication, the value of honesty, and the need to prioritize emotional well-being over fleeting excitement. My relationship with Ethan flourished, grounded in the lessons I had learned from my past. We supported each other through life's challenges, celebrating our victories and comforting each other in times of sorrow. Together, we built a life that was rich with love, trust, and mutual respect, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Desmond and I occasionally crossed paths, always with a sense of mutual respect and understanding. Our shared history was a reminder of the fragility of relationships and the importance of cherishing the bonds we form. While our marriage had ended, the lessons we learned continued to influence our lives in profound ways. Life has a way of teaching us lessons through our mistakes. My journey from a playful prankster to a woman seeking redemption has been arduous, but it has also been enlightening. I hope that others can learn from my story, understanding that the pursuit of excitement should never come at the expense of what truly matters. As I step into the future, I carry with me the memories of a love lost and the wisdom gained from a prank gone wrong. I am determined to build a life based on honesty, trust, and genuine connection, leaving behind the chaos that once defined me. The prank that shattered my marriage has, in its own twisted way, paved the path towards a more authentic and fulfilling life.